Today, we're diving into the world of diabetic eye diseases. Do you know there are several eye conditions that can affect people with diabetes? We will have chapters on the video, so you can watch what you need at a time. First up, let's talk about diabetic macular edema. This condition occurs when the blood vessels in the macula, which is the central part of the retina, start leaking fluid. This leakage causes swelling, and it can make everyday tasks like reading, driving, and recognizing faces pretty challenging. It's not uncommon, either. In fact, about 5.6% of people with diabetes over 40 have clinically significant macular edema. But wait, there's more. Cataracts are another eye condition that can affect people with diabetes. While most people develop cataracts as they age, diabetes can speed up this process. If you have diabetes, you might develop cataracts earlier and they might progress faster than in people without diabetes. It's like your eyes are aging in fast-forward mode. Now, let's talk numbers for a moment. A study published in JAMA Ophthalmology found that in 2021, about 9.6 million people in the United States had some form of diabetic eye disease. That's about 26.4% of all people with diabetes. But here's the kicker, 1.84 million of those folks had vision-threatening diabetic eye disease. That's 5.1% of people with diabetes who are at risk of serious vision loss. But don't panic just yet. There's good news too. Many of these conditions can be managed or even prevented with proper care. Regular eye exams are crucial. They're like an early warning system for your eyes. Sadly, up to 50% of Australians with diabetes don't get their eyes checked as often as they should. The recommendation is every 2 years, but more frequent checks might be necessary depending on your situation. Let's break down some more stats. The Blue Mountains Eye Study from New South Wales found that among people aged 49 and over with diabetes, 1 in 3, or 32.4%, had diabetic retinopathy. 1 in 23, or 4.3%, had clinically significant macular edema. These numbers show just how common these conditions are. But here's something interesting. The prevalence of diabetic eye diseases isn't the same across all age groups. For people under 40 with diabetes, the prevalence of diabetic retinopathy is actually higher, at 58.5% or more. Compare that to the 50 to 60 age group, where it's 43.7% or less. It's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it? Location seems to play a role too. People with diabetes in rural areas are more likely to have diabetic retinopathy than those in urban areas. The numbers are 56.2% versus 35.6%. That's a significant difference. Now, let's talk about another eye condition that can affect people with diabetes, glaucoma. Diabetes can increase your risk of developing glaucoma, which is caused by increased pressure in the eye. This pressure can damage the optic nerve, the superhighway that carries images from your eye to your brain. If left untreated, glaucoma can lead to vision loss or even blindness. But there's hope. New treatments are being developed all the time. Besides the traditional options like laser therapy and surgery, there are now medications that can help manage these conditions. These new treatments are giving people with diabetic eye diseases more options and better outcomes. One thing to remember is that these eye conditions don't discriminate. They can affect anyone with diabetes, whether you have type 1 or type 2. But, the longer you've had diabetes and the less controlled your blood sugar is, the more likely you are to develop eye complications. Here's a scary thought. Some of these conditions, like early-stage diabetic retinopathy, might not cause any symptoms at first. You might not even know you have a problem until it's advanced. That's why those regular eye exams are so important. They can catch problems before you notice any changes in your vision. Let's talk about prevention for a moment. Good diabetes management is key. Keeping your blood sugar levels under control can significantly reduce your risk of developing these eye conditions. But it's not just about blood sugar. Managing your blood pressure and cholesterol levels is important too. It's like a three-pronged approach to protecting your eyes. Now, if you do develop one of these conditions, don't lose hope. Many of them are treatable, especially if caught early. For example, diabetic macular edema can often be treated with injections of medications called anti-VEGF drugs. These work by reducing the leakage from abnormal blood vessels in the eye. Cataracts can be surgically removed and replaced with an artificial lens. It's a common procedure that can restore vision lost to cataracts. For glaucoma, there are eye drops that can help lower eye pressure, as well as laser treatments and surgical options. But remember, prevention is always better than cure. Along with managing your diabetes and getting regular eye exams, there are other steps you can take to protect your eyes. Eating a healthy diet rich in vitamins A, C, and A can help. Foods like carrots, citrus fruits, and nuts are great for eye health. Regular exercise can also help by improving blood flow throughout your body, including to your eyes. Don't forget about the importance of protecting your eyes from the sun. Wearing sunglasses that block UV rays can help prevent cataracts and other eye problems. It's a simple step that can make a big difference. Let's wrap this up with a call to action. If you have diabetes, make eye care a priority. Schedule that eye exam you've been putting off. Talk to your doctor about your risk for these eye conditions. Ask about steps you can take to protect your vision. Your future self will thank you for it. Remember, your eyes are precious. They're your window to the world. With proper care and attention, you can keep that window clear and bright for years to come. So take care of your eyes, they're the only pair you've got. The next important thing is diabetic retinopathy. It's a serious eye condition that affects millions of people with diabetes. Let's break it down and see what we can learn. Imagine this, you're one of the 537 million people worldwide living with diabetes. That's a big number, right? But here's the kicker, up to 80% of those with diabetes will eventually develop some stage of diabetic retinopathy. The longer you have diabetes, the more likely you are to develop this condition. So, what exactly is diabetic retinopathy? It's when high blood sugar levels damage the blood vessels in your retina, the part of your eye that captures light and sends signals to your brain. These damaged vessels can swell and leak, messing with your vision. It's actually the leading cause of blindness in adults aged 20 to 74. Now, let's talk numbers. In 2021, about 9.6 million people in the United States, or 26.4% of those with diabetes, had diabetic retinopathy. That's more than 1 in 4 people with diabetes. Even more concerning, 1.84 million people, or 5.1% of those with diabetes, had vision-threatening diabetic retinopathy. That's the severe form that can lead to blindness if not treated. But wait, there's more. These numbers have more than doubled since 2004. That's a huge increase in just a few years. And it's not just affecting older folks. These new estimates include people younger than 40, which wasn't the case before. Now, here's where it gets tricky. In the early stages, you might not notice any symptoms. Your vision seems fine, but the damage is already starting. By the time you do notice changes, like blurry vision or dark areas in your sight, the disease might be pretty advanced. That's why regular eye checkups are super important. The American Diabetes Association recommends that all diabetic patients get an annual eye exam. But sadly, only about 60% actually do. That's where new technology comes in handy. There's this cool thing called teleretinal imaging that lets you get your eye exam during your regular doctor's visit. They take pictures of your retina and send them to an eye specialist to check out. It's quick and easy, and it's helping more people get their eyes checked. Now, let's talk about who's at risk. Diabetic retinopathy doesn't discriminate, but some groups are hit harder than others. For example, black individuals have a higher rate of vision-threatening diabetic retinopathy at 8.7%, compared to 7.1% for Hispanic individuals and 3.6% for white individuals. That means a higher percentage of Black and Hispanic people with diabetes are at risk for vision loss. But it's not just about race. Where you live matters too. The rates of diabetic retinopathy vary widely across the US after accounting for age, sex, and race. The lowest rate was in Nevada at 21.2%, while Hawaii had the highest at 34.2%. That's a big difference. Age plays a role too. The risk of diabetic retinopathy goes up as you get older, but then it actually decreases in the oldest age groups. This might sound odd, but it's likely because severe diabetic retinopathy is linked to more severe diabetes, which can lead to earlier death. Now, let's talk about what's happening in your eyes when you have diabetic retinopathy. It starts with these tiny bulges in your blood vessels called microartery SMS. They're the first sign of trouble. As things progress, you might get retinal hemorrhages, which is when those weak blood vessels actually start bleeding into your retina. In the later stages, you might develop something called intraretinal microvascular anomalies, or IRMA. It's a fancy way of saying your blood vessels start growing in weird, spidery patterns. Another late-stage sign is venous beading, where your veins start to look like a string of sausages. These are all signs that your retina isn't getting enough oxygen and is trying to grow new blood vessels to compensate. But here's some good news. Researchers are making exciting breakthroughs. They've discovered that immune cells in your retina, called microglia, play a big role in diabetic retinopathy. When your blood sugar is high, these cells get activated and start causing inflammation. But scientists have found a way to disrupt this process with special eye injections. In mouse studies, these injections reduced inflammation and stopped vision loss. This could lead to new treatments that work in the early stages of the disease, before vision loss occurs. Now, you might be wondering, what can I do to protect my eyes? Well, the most important thing is to keep your diabetes under control. That means managing your blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels. Eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and not smoking can all help. But that's not all. Regular eye exams are crucial. Remember, diabetic retinopathy often doesn't have symptoms in the early stages. By the time you notice changes in your vision, the disease might be pretty advanced. But if it's caught early, there are treatments that can slow its progression and prevent vision loss. In fact, 95% of severe vision loss from diabetic retinopathy can be prevented with early detection and treatment. That's huge. It means that even if you develop diabetic retinopathy, you have a really good chance of preserving your vision if you catch it early. So, what does treatment look like? Well, it depends on the stage of the disease. In the early stages, the focus is on controlling your diabetes and monitoring your eyes closely. But if the disease progresses, there are several options. One common treatment is laser therapy. This can seal off leaking blood vessels and prevent new, abnormal vessels from growing. Another option is injections of medications directly into the eye. These drugs can reduce swelling and slow the growth of new blood vessels. In more severe cases, you might need a type of surgery called a vitrectomy. This involves removing the gel-like substance in your eye and replacing it with a clear solution. It can help if you have a lot of bleeding in your eye or if scar tissue is pulling on your retina. But remember, the goal is to catch diabetic retinopathy before it gets to this point. That's why those regular eye exams are so important. Now, let's talk about the future. The number of people with diabetic retinopathy is expected to keep growing. Estimates suggest that by 2045, about 160 million people worldwide will be affected. But don't let that scare you. Remember, we are making progress in understanding and treating this disease all the time. For example, that research on microglia cells we talked about earlier? That could lead to new treatments that stop diabetic retinopathy in its tracks. And as we get better at managing diabetes overall, we might be able to prevent more cases of diabetic retinopathy from developing in the first place. So, what's the takeaway here? If you have diabetes, your eyes need some extra love and attention. Get those regular checkups, Keep your diabetes under control, and don't ignore any changes in your vision. With the right care and attention, you can protect your sight and keep your eyes healthy for years to come. Remember, your vision is precious. Take care of it, and it will take care of you. Stay informed, stay proactive, and keep those eyes sparkling.